Okay, got it. Yes. Well, hello everyone. I think we get on YouTube now. This is a fantastic gathering around everyone meet up here after solar eclipse. So, hello everyone. Welcome back to Worldscope. And for this month, we are going to focus on the solar eclipse and the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in different places. So today we have Luisa join us from Portugal, and we have Maria join us from Argentina, and we have Liane from UK, and we have Anna from Peru. We have Grace from Germany, and then also we have me. Sorry, I'm not in UK today. I'm in bloody Arizona. And guess why I mentioned about it? I think all the ladies aware this spatial location. I have to say, I don't want to see myself as a disaster spreader, that go to anywhere to spread the terrible news. But it was quite funny. I gave a talk in New York. The day I returned to LA, New York has an earthquake. Duh? How often New York has earthquake? So people say, what have you done to New York? I said, I don't know. Thank God this Arizona revived abortion law. What happened before I landed? Before I landed, I was so surprised. I was like,
Are you
you couldn't make
saying
this
you
up.
have superpowers?
No, nothing. Just a coincidence.
Oh
Just a
no, I'm
coincidence.
not sure.
Oh, okay. Luisa, I have to ask you. I have to ask you because we haven't seen you last time. So, what do you work on at this moment? Because it seems like some big work coming up.
I don't know if the expression is coming up, but I'm writing a
Oh,
book, and this is my second book. The other one was in
mhm,
Portuguese. This one is in English.
mhm.
It's called it's called While I Still Remember, and the objective is to use personal experiences and give it a collective context, so that through the personal experiences, the collective context, astrological, other people can learn about it. So I'm doing
That
that.
is so
And
cool.
I have to tell you that someone heard what I did for your conference, and I was
Yeah.
invited to do the same talk for the NCGR group in LA in May.
Cool.
Go figure.
Cool. That's lovely. So
Yeah.
it's in ACGRLA. You're going to give a talk soon. That's fantastic. That's
Yeah, there you
fantastic.
go.
So
So those are my
yeah, so
news.
we just yeah, and I think this is this is so fit into I mean about the at this moment we have the Mercury retrograde and we can blend nearly everything on it. But we can also say this is the time to to review. So well, I think today we have a three topic and leading by Liane, Anna, and Grace. But anyone feel free to bring some different subject. Feel free, or just just slice in just do what we usually do. Okay, so today, as I mentioned about Arizona and amazing things, amazing, no, incredible, unbelievable things just happened here. So I will hand this to Leanne. So let me make Leanne co-host. Okay, let me make Leanne co-host. I'm just like because I'm on the Let me just make Leanne co-host so Leanne can share her slides. Okay, Lian. So I'm making you co-host. So before you start, Lian, are you doing any work or any publish at this moment?
Well, I've just come out of a really, really busy period. I did three big talks in March, as you know. I did a talk for you, I
Yeah.
did one for Synchronicity University, and then I did the World Summit with
Yeah.
Wade Caves. And I've done talks earlier in the spring as earlier in the year too. So it was a really intense period. So I'm
Yeah.
using this Mercury retrograde time just to sit and review where I'm going next because I have other talks to prepare for, but I have plans how to take my astrological work further. So I'm just
Yeah.
in the process of trying to have some quiet time to sort of work on my next steps because I have so many ideas and there's so much I want to do. So yeah, I'm just trying to, I'm just trying to sort of formulate a plan for everything. But there's lots coming up, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, yes. So I think you are prepared about this
Yeah.
terrible Arizona revived the law from 19th century. If I remember, it's 1864, right? This morning we have exchanged a few messages.
Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Oh, super, super. Okay, great. So yeah, as we know, on Tuesday just this week, the Arizona Supreme Court ruled that the state can reinforce a 160-year-old rule, which is a near total ban on abortions. And that makes abortion punishable by imprisonment, except where the mother's life is at risk. So this ruling means that all, abortion clinics in the state could be shut down, which is massively going to affect women's health care. There is potential, however, in November for there to be a referendum where people can vote on whether to undo this ruling or not. But of course, this follows on from last week when Florida's Supreme Court delivered two rulings which upheld the state's right to ban abortion. And starting on May the 1st, Florida is having a 6-week ban on abortion. And that's going to block nearly all access to abortion in the south of the US, because Florida was a haven where people could go, to seek that sort of treatment.
Mm.
I think that, there is potential as well for another referendum. So after the 6 weeks ban, this might change again. But it's really interesting that this is coming on the back of France last month becoming the first country in the world to include the right to abortion in its constitution. So let me just put the next slide on. So just a very quick refresher, because we talked about this in the last Worldscope, didn't we, when we discussed the Aries Ingress?
Yes.
And I sort of mentioned this briefly, and this is going to be a huge, huge topic going on for the next few years, women's reproductive rights, okay? And I highlighted that T-square between Pluto, Haumea, and the moon in Leo. Women's reproductive rights are just going to be huge, as well as other sort of feminine themes, women in positions of power, etc., women's place in society, women's identity in society, all those types of things. And as you know, that Pluto Haumea square is going to exact around 13 times between 2022 and 2028, but it's in orb all of this decade. It's absolutely massive. And here's just a few of the most recent dates, and the ones that are coming up. It will mostly be sort of in the early degrees of fixed Aquarius and Scorpio. And of course, Scorpio with Haumea, Haumea is the mother goddess of creativity. She's the goddess of reproduction, life and death and regeneration. Very, very similar energies to Pluto. And of course, Haumea being in Scorpio, that's the sign of, sex and reproduction, sexual organs and death, life, regeneration. So we've got some very, very deep themes there which resonate incredibly with the very sort of sensitive topic of abortion. Okay, we're discussing it tonight, but it's an incredibly personal and deeply, deeply sensitive topic for women in general. And of course, the partners of women who are perhaps going through this as well. But if we look at the first two exactments of this Pluto Haumea square, the second one on the 24th of June 2022, late degrees of the cardinal signs there, that was within a couple of days of the Roe versus Wade ruling, which overturned the right to abortion in the US. And we'll look at that in the next slide. So I was just setting the scene here from the Aries Ingress. This is long term. This is something that's not going to change or disappear overnight, okay? And of course, it's one kind of signature of much deeper evolutionary energies and change that society is going through, okay? So if we think back to Arizona, and I think it's wonderful that Rod's actually in Arizona tonight, isn't that synchronicity? You know, as astrologers just work with synchronicity all the time. It's absolutely amazing. So they've overturned that ruling that was made in 1864, okay, and it's called the Howell Code. And it was adopted by the first legislative assembly of the territory of Arizona. Now, we need to be a little bit careful with the dates here, and we need to do a lot more research on this, okay? Because the session of all of these codes, which wasn't just about abortion, it was about many, many areas of legislation in Arizona. The sessions began on the 26th of September and then ended on the 10th of November. So I've used the date for the ending, the conclusion of all the legislation, okay? But I know, Rod, you looked at the earlier date. We discussed this earlier. So I think we need to sort of look at this in more detail when we have more time, okay? So
Yes, I agree.
I'm not going to take this chart as set in stone, but I think we can certainly look at the outer planet cycles and the outer planet placements to give us a good idea of you know, the themes going on. And what I find really interesting, firstly, is we have Haumea, you know, the mother goddess of creativity and reproduction, opposite Saturn. You know, already there's those reproductive rights being blocked in this ruling. We can see that without a doubt, okay? And this was actually part of a whole wave of legislation passed around abortion, banning abortion, that happened between the 1860s and the 1880s. And I just mentioned we're in a Haumea Pluto square at the moment. That cycle began in the 1950s in Leo, but the previous conjunction of Pluto and Haumea began in 1878 in Taurus at around 25 Taurus, okay? So this legislation sort of very much coincided with that. We can see Haumea and Pluto sort of coming together. And if we use Richard Tarnas's wide orbs, you know, Pluto and Haumea are close together, but they did come together in sort of the late 1870s, okay? What else did I find interesting? So, you know, if we take, you know, the Sun and Mercury there, I'm going to ignore the midheaven because I just set this chart for noon. You know, we're pretty close to having an opposition from that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that we have coming up on the 21st of April. So it's no wonder this has erupted and this has been triggered. It's being triggered by that waxing Jupiter and Uranus, who are very close together. And I'm sure we can all feel that in our own ways building, can't we? In this chart as well, I was really fascinated by that Neptune. You know, I'd love to take the moon, but we need to ignore that moon because, you know, we don't know the exact date or time. But that Neptune at 05 Aries, that's so going to be triggered by Saturn and Neptune in 2026. And it's also going to have a Neptune return in 2027, isn't it? Okay. So again, I think this is going to keep rumbling on. All right. But apart from the other incredibly important subject of women's reproductive rights, the other key issue here is that abortion access is a massive political lever at the minute, okay? Because the Democrats are obviously more relaxed with their abortion rules, they're more pro-abortion or want sort of easier rules around it. And that's helping them do very well in local and state elections, okay? And the Arizona state attorney, who is a Democrat, has promised that anyone in Arizona will not be prosecuted for being involved in abortion. And she calls the law draconian, okay? But also some Republicans in Arizona who are sort of pretty much anti-abortion, they've expressed concern about this, okay? One of them is someone called Carrie Lake, and she's a very close ally of Donald Trump, and she's a Republican candidate for Arizona state seat in the US Senate, and she's opposed this decision. And they know this is going to influence the election results in November. Okay, the Democrats think they're ahead because they're more supportive of abortion, but I think the Republicans are realizing they have to jump on board. And then, of course, what happened on Monday this week? Donald Trump has joined in, obviously in the hope of gaining some Democrat kind of voter support, and saying that policies should be set by individual states. Okay, as they have been since the Supreme Court overturned that Roe versus Wade decision in 2022. And I'm just thinking it's so Pluto Aquarius, because nations become fractured into like separate ruling communities, you know, and that's kind of what we're seeing here. But Trump is also claiming some glory, saying that he's responsible for the change brought about by the US Supreme Court a couple of years ago when it overturned the Roe versus Wade decision. So he's kind of sort of saying one thing and then saying something different.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's Trump, isn't he? He's very Gemini. But he's also
Yeah.
acknowledged that the abortion issue has caused major problems for his party in the elections, okay? And I think we need to look at his chart shortly as well, along with Roe versus Wade, because I believe he's going to use this as a lever in his election campaign, definitely, okay? So, oh yes, and Jupiter there as well. That is going to be opposed by Jupiter when it moves into Gemini, and that will be around mid-June. So I think we might see more sort of legislation and publicity around this around, you know, mid-June when Jupiter comes along and opposes that, okay? So just, this is the second last slide. I don't want to take up all the session. So this is, I just wanted to skip that, sorry. Let me just skip that. So let's move to the Roe versus Wade, of course, because this was the ruling in 1973, which protected the right to have an abortion. And then, of course, it was overruled in 2022, all right? And that brought about an injunction against other rulings too. And like I say, that coincided with a Pluto-Haumea square. So if we look at this chart, note it's had a recent Chiron return, obviously throwing it into the you know, the spotlight there. But this chart is going to be you know, triggered very much. I mean, look, it's got Pluto on its sun, you know, and Pluto's going to keep bouncing back on that sun right through into next year, of course. And of course, Pluto's been triggering that for that entire stellium for the past couple of years. And Pluto's also been, you know, earlier trying that Haumea as well. But what I found fascinating was that transit Saturn has been forming a mutable grand cross with Mars, Saturn and Haumea, you know, that's kind of in orb triggering all those planets in that grand cross through spring this year. And then it will come back, you know, it's going to retrograde, it will come back and trigger all of those planets through September and January into next year. So again, we're just going to see more and more of this, you know, the legislation, referendums, more debate about it. It's really going to be massive, I think. And then finally, if we look at the Roe versus Wade and the Trump chart here, like I say, I really think Trump is going to start building on women's reproductive rights as a voting tool, which is really quite ironic considering Trump is a misogynist and has that Mars Saturn in Cancer in his chart. But I think he's going to use it as a carrot just to gain more voters, particularly female voters. All right. Because this is about women's rights, isn't it?
Mhm.
So, you know, we've got Roe versus Wade on the outside of Trump's chart here. So straight away we can see that Roe versus Wade has Maki Maki on top of Trump's creative Hail Mayor. Listen, that's generational. Everyone the same age will have that, okay? But because Trump is a collective figure with collective influence, I think it makes it a little bit more relevant than just Mr. Smith who lives next door to us and goes to an office and works quietly every day, okay? And it sits right between his ruthless Mars and Pluto there, all right? And of course, Leo's all about procreation and creativity. So there's a lot of creative potential there for Trump, definitely. But of course, his Cancer planets are sort of in an opposition, picking up those Roe versus Wade Capricorn planets as well. You know, all of those female themes that he might play on. And as we know, Jupiter and Uranus are going to conjunct pretty much his midheaven, you know, later this month. They're picking that up. You know, that could mean all sorts of things for Trump. It could be a shock change of direction. It could be this or that. But I just wonder if it's a sort of a change of strategy and a new progressive way of thinking about the feminine principle, because it's in Taurus. So I just wonder if this Roe versus Wade and, you know, more support of the abortion rights, it's going to like be connected to that. And then finally, we can see his Sun North Node in Uranus really picking up that Roe versus Wade progressive Saturn Uranus trine there. And it's in Gemini and it's in air. He's going to use this in his campaign and in his speeches. This is what he's going to be communicating more and more, I really do believe. And then finally, I mentioned this in the talk I did for you, Rod, back in March, didn't I, on Ceres?
Yeah.
How Ceres in Capricorn is forming 3 T-squares with the nodal axes this year. Okay. And of course, Ceres is a very feminine energy as well. So, and that's, you know, very much sort of being triggered here as well. So we need to keep an eye on those dates as well. And it's fascinating that that first Ceres T-square with the nodes has coincided with all of this kind of sort of blowing up again. So yeah, I would certainly keep an eye on those and transit Ceres, because Ceres is about the mother-child bond, okay, which is very much at the root of reproductive rights as well. So that was just an overview kind of where we're at, and it's not going away. It's going to get bigger.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Leanne, for beautiful presentations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's going to be, I think it's going to be one of the key things in the presidential election in the US, definitely. Okay.
Definitely. And any colleague has a you know, want to add a comment? Luisa, Maria, Anna?
Others have comments. We can't believe anything that Trump says.
No,
so I don't think this comes from a belief. It's just his minders tell him, oh, focus on social issues, because and go ahead, focus on social issues. What I hadn't noticed is the Jupiter-Uranus conjunctions on midheaven.
Yes.
And I think it could be explosive. Because,
yeah,
because it could be explosive in all kinds. I mean, not just in something actually happening, you know, that completely changes the perception we have of him as a candidate. I don't know, some of the lawsuits and some of the things that are happening, I see it more like that. A surprise Uranus that has to do with justice on his midheaven. That was my comment.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Luisa. Anyone, Anna or Maria or Grace, want to join this? Yes.
I observed that the upcoming solar eclipse, which will be in Libra, in 10 of Libra, that it comes with Mercury and Lilith. And Lilith has to do with abortion as well.
Yes,
She doesn't like pregnancy, etc. And Mercury has to do with kids. So, and that degree will be very close to, well, Trump's Neptune, and Chiron. So in the house of his values. So I think that will be the campaign or everything that he said. He will be very picky, strong, spicy. I think his word will shake the world.
Oh dear. Do we need more about that? Yeah, it's just very surprised. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Anna. Any other comment before we move to next subject?
Yes, I wanted to make a comment because
please.
I thought it was sorry, my volume is down. You know that on the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction of December 2020, the moon was at 26 Pisces, and the nodes were around 17, 15, 17, depending on which node you use, of Gemini. And look at the coincidences. So it's going to be these 20-year period, these themes are locked with that evolutionary period that is represented by the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction. That was also in air after many, many years.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Malia. Malia, but while you're here, do you mind I ask you, do you have any recent article going to publish or any talk or any plan? Please share with us.
Well, my article on my research on how to discern charts of twins using draconic astrology is going to be published in the next astrological journal.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks. And I also have a book in Spanish on draconic astrology that will be ready, I hope that by the beginning of June. And well, tomorrow I'm speaking at a conference, but in Argentina. So as all of us, I'm very busy.
I know, yes.
Astrologers are so busy at this time. Thank you for asking.
So what association you're going to talk tomorrow, if any our audience may be interesting, can have a quick checkup just before too late.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
What organization for the conference?
It's an organization in Argentina called Expo Holística, and 10 astrologers are going to be giving conference. It's a conference, but it's local.
Cool.
It's in Argentina. Yeah, that's
cool.
tomorrow.
We like to share the information, so everyone who might interesting can join last minute, right? Yeah. Okay, thank you, Malia. And okay, so now we're going to switch our focus into, I think, quite a lot of different places: Mexico, Peru, and Vietnam. So Anna, bring us.
Ecuador, Peru, yeah.
Ecuador.
Mexico has to do with this as well.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So, Anna, I said you co-host, so please feel free to share. But before you start, I have the same question, Anna. What are you working on at this moment? Do you have any coming up talk and article be published?
Yes, my next talk will be in June in the San Francisco Astrological Society. I will talk about place name asteroids. And then in August, September in the AA. The topic is to be announced in an AA.
Cool. And, so looking forward.
Yeah, and what I've been doing is, since I participated in December with you, with the NCGR, with the Synchronicity University, and with the STA Astrological World Summit, what I'm doing is to recapitulate all the topics, because I like to talk many topics. I'm very curious. I am a Gemini rising. I like this and this and this. So I want to compact them and to make a kind of second step of moving forward. And I found many writings and articles that I did a long time ago, in which I have a vision about, for example, asteroids or of the vertex. Now I want to improve them. Since I have more information, I have acquiring some astrological background now. So it is like I'm taking everything to the next level. And of course, I will work in parallel. I mean, English and Spanish at the same time. That's
Cool.
the goal. Yeah, in both languages.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're waiting for Anna's slides. Yes, here we are.
Let me know if you...
Yeah, we can see it. We can see it.
Right. Well, for today, I have three topics. I will do it as very compact in a very quick way. The first one will be about Ecuador. Ecuador, who has a very very interesting situation, because on April the 5th, Ecuador raided the Mexican embassy to arrest a former vice president accused of corruption charges. And the following day, Ecuador declared the Mexican ambassador and persona non grata, and that she should leave the country. And Mexico suspends the diplomatic ties with Ecuador, but it resonated in some neighbors, such Bolivia and Nicaragua, that did the same, took diplomatic actions withdrawing ambassadors. And in fact, in reality, this event was a violation of the international law. It hasn't not been seen previously. It is something without precedence. And on April 11, Mexico formalized and announces Ecuador to the International Court of Justice for the embassy raid. So the topic will continue with this neighbor, and everything affects us, because everything that happens in our neighborhood impacts to the other country. So that is very interesting. So this is the chart of Ecuador with the transits of the raid. What we can observe here is that days after the Aries Ingress, the moon, Mars and Saturn were together in the south node of Ecuador. And at the same time, the south node, the transited south node was with Mercury. Mercury being the ruler of the 7th house and the 10th house. So it's about the relationship with others and their objectives of the government. And there were other factors, such as Jupiter and Uranus in making a square to Saturn and Venus be present in the 9th house. So it is that, and something else that is the Lilith was, well, I take in consideration Lilith because for me it's a rage that suddenly appears, is close to the Sun of Ecuador. It's like a reaction that went against all odds. So what I observe here is that this, of course, it won't be the end. It will be the beginning of something bigger. And I took the dates here, that in which, for example, where Mars will continue its path, it will create an opposition to the Sun of Ecuador. So all the eyes are given to directed to the president of Ecuador. And if there will be a Mars return, well, with Neptune. So these are the days that for me are very interesting to observe what will happen in this country. Because we will have this Mars opposition to the Sun, the Mars return with Neptune, Uranus squaring the Saturn, and Saturn on the position of Ecuador in May. So we have the upcoming months very tied to the situation of this country that has shaken our neighborhood. And when I observe the Aries Ingress for Ecuador, we have the Mars here, Mars in the IC, that creates a square with ascendant-descendant, creating this tension. And well, Lily with the Sun of Ecuador together. And well, we observe this triple conjunction, the Moon, Mars, and Saturn in the Venus-Saturn. So it is creating a tension, but the Moon is moving. And when it will be the April the 16th, the Moon will be in 3 of Leo. So it will hit again this opposition. So maybe some news will be given at that time, because we have to know how Ecuador will be according to the International Court of Justice, all the relationships. Let's go to Peru. Well, on Easter, the weekend of Easter was very, very interrupted by this news about Dina Boluarte, the president of Peru, that faces corruption because she was wearing luxury watches, the Rolexes. The Rolexes were the topic for 3 weeks. We are kind of fed up of hearing that news, but this event has escalated into a matter of state, because it is revealing something that we know, and she had to create a strategy to keep safe, but it won't last. The sensation in Peru is that Dina Boluarte won't last. We have seen this film before with former President Castillo, who lasted almost 500 days in power, and Dina Boluarte will have also 500 days soon. So it is expected that this president won't last. It is a matter of time. It is a matter of time. So on March 29th, her home was raided. The police, the justice went into the house and looking for the watches, but they were not found. They didn't find the Rolex, but they found the certification of the Rolex as if she was the owner. But and she didn't give any answer to the population. And on April the 5th, she faced questioning by prosecutor for nearly 5 hours. After that, she sent a message on TV explaining that it was a mistake to accept those watches from his friend as a loan to reflect well on the country when attending events. So everybody says, we don't believe you. So, but everything that she said, she's safe now for a while. But of course, in some sense, she has get rid of his friends, pointing him as the guilty of this situation, pointing at his lawyer about not that attorney suggested not to speak. So everything that she said in that message was, I have my hand cleans, my rolling are not mine, so I don't have to declare it. My lawyer told me not to talk, that's why I didn't talk. And my friend, my close friend, lend me the Rolex. I am not the proprietor. So, and nobody believes that. But this is a matter of time. Well, this is the chart of Peru. This is the chart of Peru. For a long time, we were experiencing a T-square because Pluto is here, landing here, and we have a T-square, which now it is activated by this Mercury, the message to the law and the ruler of the fourth house to the whole country, the message of the country activating in the middle of this T-square. And the transit at that time was the Moon, Mars, and Saturn very close to the North Node. So you can see here in this photo all the Rolex that she had. But for me, she's the proprietor, but she's the owner, but anyway. But, well, she is seduced by the power thing and creating a lot of lies. The Aries Ingress of Peru is this one. Again, as Quito, as in Ecuador, we have Mars here, but with another ascendant. We have another ascendant. But at the time that it happened, at the time that the police and the law entered to her home, the moon of the Aries Ingress has navigated until the ascendant. When the moon moved to the ascendant, happened this event. When the moon continued its path to this degree, she mentioned something. She gave a message to the nation. So there is a combination again: the moon, Mars, and Saturn with the Venus Saturn. I pay attention to this particular Aries Ingress for the following reasons. There is something about the females. The females that misbehave are under surveillance. We have this moon in Leo, a woman that shows her feathers, so to speak, is interpolated by Pluto. And Venus, which is exalted with all the luxury things, is very close to Saturn, the law. So it is something that is resonating to me that, and we previously talked about the wars, and there are many things with the female that are activated in this particular Aries Ingress. So this is the situation for Peru. So we are expecting that again in April 16, something will happen, because this is not the end of the story. This is the beginning of the end. This is the beginning of the end, but it's not the end. My sensation that it will be escalating this end in the upcoming full moon. The full moon will be, the moon will be in Scorpio, in opposition to the sun, and with a T-square of Pluto, going and shaking the sun of Peru. So I think that the tension will come as to start here, because there will be a lot of investigation. And what she says in her message, she had the intention to justify her actions, but everything that she say will be analyzed again. So somehow she made a lot of mistakes, and she is pointing at her image is very, very deteriorated, very deteriorated. So it is a matter of time, but looking beyond that is that it is not convenient for us to change president now, not because of her. It's because the organization that manage elections are contaminated with political negative views. So we need to remove these people, and then maybe to create a new elections. But for sure, the president, I don't think that she will continue. She's very deteriorated, and more things are coming up, because the Rolex is only the starting point. There's a bracelet, there's some millions of soles that she received. She's negotiating favors. So it is a matter of time that more things will come up. So I'm expecting April, and of course the rest of the months are very challenging for the chart of Peru. And the other news that caught my attention was about Vietnam. This woman from My Lang, the Vietnamese billionaire that was sentenced to death for this amount of fraud. And again, I say, what has to do a woman with millions being interpolated? So it caught my attention, and I wanted to investigate, because I'm not so familiar with Vietnam. But what I found, it was very interesting. She started selling cosmetic with her mother, again, Venus, Pisces, mother, the moon, and began buying land and property. And then she owned a large portfolio of hotels or restaurants. And well, she made money, but the investigation took this amount of people. This amount of people were summoned to testify, while 10 state prosecutors and around 200 lawyers were involved in that, all this negotiation, all this business for years. So it's huge. The evidence was in this amount of boxes. So imagine the kind of documentation that they have to have a sentence a woman to death. And all the defendants were found guilty for receiving life in jail. The rest were given prison terms ranging from 20 years to 3 years. And the husband and the niece have received jail terms of 9 and 70 years, and the woman is sentenced to death. So this was very appealing to me. So I checked the chart of Vietnam. And I observed that is Sun in Virgo, Moon in Cancer, very close to Saturn, and Ascendant in Gemini. Well, nothing special here, but when I saw the Aries Ingress for Vietnam, and we have the Mars here. It is the upside down of Peru. It's the antipodes of Peru. Now Mars is here in the midheaven, and we have in the 10th house Venus and Saturn here. It is very crowded, this 10th house. Now, there are more other things happening, such this opposition of the moon and Pluto very, very close and aligned with the third and ninth house. Talking about law, communication, etc. But the curious thing is that the Venus Saturn of the Aries Ingress is the midheaven of Vietnam. Is the midheaven of Vietnam. So, and the moon is the Venus of Vietnam. Sharp. 3 and 3. Sharp. 3 and 3. And it's, well, the position, it is here. And this conjunction, Venus-Saturn, is in a position to the sun of Vietnam. Somehow it's like Vietnam went to the paramount with this news. No? And the lunar eclipse, it was in contact with this area, the Chiron, Neptune, Jupiter. No? But it surprised me how this moon and Venus are hand in hand together, and the Venus with the midheaven together. This is the chart of Truong Milan, I don't know how we pronounce. Of course, it's a noon chart. And we can see here that she has Sun in Libra. The moon could be at the end of Capricorn or Aquarius. Sorry, the moon in Aquarius could be somewhere here. And we can see that the following thing, that the conjunction Mars-Saturn was in her Mars. So it is after the Mars return. The solar eclipse, it was in opposition to her sun. The moon at that moment, I took the hour in which I observed, is in contact with the south node and in opposition to Saturn and north node. Saturn, the dead by law, given by law. No, it's the Saturn in Sagittarius, it's the Saturn, the dead given by law. And the moon of Aries Ingress, that is 3 in Leo, is activating this opposition as well. Uranus Chiron. So it is like it's taking many things of this particular chart. So it really caught my attention, and when I found the coincidences, it really was interesting to show this event in this moment. So thank you.
Wow, thank you. And as usual, and this time you bring us more. Yes, you deserve, like Maria, you deserve applause. Thank you very much. You always bring us like a different, you know, in the regional, and this time even the Vietnam, and it's like you really sense that the female leader or that Moon Pluto thing in the Aries in Greece really activated. Because you mentioned about it, I wasn't really focused on news at this moment because I was traveling. So when you mentioned this Vietnam things, I have a very quick to search a little bit review about I think this judge, this ruling of this a death sentence about she kind of controlling the bank and also kind of move the money from her bank to her own private personal account is kind of very usual in Vietnam. And so those rich hold a lot of power and can have influence on political in Vietnam. So the Vietnam communists are kind of not happy with this result at this moment. So they kind of starting to regulate whole situation. And these, in one way, they want to reinforce to protect the communists, to protect their ruling in Vietnam. In another way, they don't want to sacrifice the open to freedom markets. But so this is a pretty interesting battle in between. But I'm very welcome our colleague like Luisa, Maria, and Lian to join the a comment and a conversation, please. If anyone wants to start. Oh yes,
add a comment, because I'm resonating with this moon in Leo against Pluto, this Venus. And yesterday, well, 2 days ago, I read that Margot Robbie, the actor who played Bible, will play in the film Monopoly.
Oh yes, Monopoly,
Talking about money
Pluto.
again. Talking about money again. So it is that that is the females that have a lot of money or a lot of things to do and resonated. Women and money
Yeah,
are
interesting.
somehow interpolated if they don't go with the law. So it caught my attention that the Monopoly film will be given by the previous Barbie. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yes. So it is resonating
Yeah.
with the female with the money. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
That will
Luisa?
be very interesting because it is also a movie by Greta. So it's not just Margot, it's also Greta.
Greta, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
again.
And Greta, wants very much to use what she calls commodities in terms of things that have been around and giving it a deeper twist. So I think we're going to see with this Pluto in Aquarius, we're going to see structures of power connected with the monopoly thing, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank
And
you,
and,
Luisa.
and Margot, I'm not. It's just they work very well together. I'm not 100%
Yeah.
sure if we can translate the Barbie figure or it's just the actress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And-
But it's curious how the archetypes are working.
I
in
agree
all the
with you,
things.
Anna. It's super
Mhm.
interesting that connection with money, that connection with power or getting wealthy. There's one thing that I'd like to remind you all about the eclipse is that around the 25th of May, the eclipse is activated by Mars.
Yeah.
And
Indeed.
in many
Yeah.
financial mundane charts, that's when it hits. So remember those dates?
Yeah.
It's around the 24th, 25th, more or less when Jupiter enters Gemini. So
Gemini,
we could have, something around that those dates.
Yes.
Yeah, teenagers as house party. So, Maria?
Oh, yes, I can share. I have just 5 minutes, but I'd love to share it.
Yeah, oh, yes, please.
Oh, I need to be.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry. Yeah,
No worries.
let me. Yeah. Okay, here you are.
Okay, this is very, very short, but I thought it was interesting on account of what's going on. My country's a roller coaster right now.
Yes,
it's
please.
always a roller coaster, but right now my country's a super roller coaster. We have a very peculiar president, as you know. So I wanted to look at the solar eclipse set in Buenos Aires, in the capital city of the country, and you can see how all the planets are in the eighth, because Argentina has a huge debt, and it's also it needs to restructure the taxes, the taxation system. This is very, very important for you to understand. As a producer of soybeans in Brazil earns $510 per ton, and in Argentina only 135 because of taxes. Okay, so this has to be restructured, and I think that this is very important because, well, everything is in the eighth. Okay, but it's not a very nice chart, is it? With everything in the eighth and the ruler. Look at Algol on the midheaven. That is the president. And the ruler of the midheaven, Venus, is also in the eighth, in detriment, under the rays of the sun. So this isn't a very, very nice chart. Okay, so I always like to look at the Ingress chart to see if an eclipse or an Aries Jupiter-Saturn conjunction chart, to see if an Ingress or an eclipse is really relevant. And there are there's a very huge coincidence. There's a very huge coincidence, and it's that the Mars, there we go, of the Saturn and Jupiter conjunction is in the degree of the Mercury of the eclipse chart. Okay, so I thought that was relevant. And this is telling us that, at least in Argentina, because this is in the first house, things related to words, communications, young people, but also linked to, I don't know, Twitter, social media, are going to be very present, but also there's going to be either a very confrontational man who's going to be also very active in this period, or these communications will be full of aggressiveness. So let's see how that played out. For instance, these are examples that many people have been receiving messages of the president. Well, this isn't very serious. We don't take this seriously, but there are messages that we're going to start killing libertarians. Milei is not liberal. He's an anarcho-libertarian. It's something else completely.
No descansaremos hasta ver a Milei muerto.
Yes. Yeah, we want to see him dead. That's what the messages say.
Yeah.
Then something that I also found very significant is that the ruler of the seventh, okay, yes, the ruler of the seventh of the conjunction is Venus, and Venus of the eclipse is right on the ascendant. So I'm thinking of someone, someone that is, well, that could be with another country, but it also could be with someone important who plays an important role, as for instance, as a business partner, no? And I found it interesting that today, remember Mercury, Mars, and then Venus on the Venus of the eclipse, right on the ascendant of the conjunction. Today there was a meeting between Elon Musk and Javier Milei, and to talk about investments, okay? And I don't know if this is a fake news or not, because this took place today, but it said that Elon Musk gave Javier Milei a car, and every time you blow the horn, the horn says, "Viva la libertad, carajo!" Freedom, freedom, damn it! This is long live freedom. This is one of the phrases that Javier Milei uses a lot. And then, but I don't know if that is fake news or not. But then another interesting thing is that Pluto of the eclipse was right very near the degree of the conjunction, and Jupiter rules the ninth of justice. And, when I was 24, when I was 23, 24, I lived half a block away from the embassy of Israel. And that embassy was blown to pieces. This is 32 years ago, blown to pieces at midday. There was a kindergarten on the opposite side of the road. So this was terrible. My house was also shown to pieces, but this was 32 years ago, and there were no one was found guilty. No one, and there was a lawyer who did a very deep research, but he was killed the day before, showing those proofs to Congress. Okay, so there was a lot going on around why can't we find who is guilty of this attack to the embassy of Israel. And yesterday, the justice, the justice court held terrorist state of Iran, Hezbollah, responsible after 32 years. Okay, so that is something this is important, because believe it or not, our previous president, Cristina Fernández de Kirchner, had a pact with Iran. That's why this case wasn't resolved, wasn't solved. So this is very, very important for us, because, well, this was the first terrorist attack from abroad in Argentina. Okay, and also William Lilly says that if the eclipse is in the place of heaven of a man or a king, that king will be, or that man will be, or a ruler, this eclipse will affect that ruler. And if we look at Javier Milei's chart, look at the eclipse. Right on his midheaven, and the ascendant of the eclipse is very near the degree of his natal moon. Again, a Leo moon. I laughed when Anna talked about that. So, well, that's what I wanted to share with you. I thought this was significant.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you, Maria.
Also, just to finish,
Yes.
Ramsay says that when the sun is eclipsed in the second decade of Aries, this will bring sadness or danger of death to a king. And this eclipse is very important for Javier Milei because it's right on his midheaven. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Thank you, Maria. Oh God, this is so rich, so
cool.
fantastic, and also full of information, not only in astrology and the world event, and also the traditional view of the solar eclipse on the sun and on the important chart of the king. And that is so rich. Any comment from Leanne, Louisa, before we move to Grace, talk about Jupiter Uranus related to China?
I have a question for Maria. Maria, you start your analysis from the conjunction Jupiter-Saturn in late 2020. Why do you take that start point to continue your analysis?
That conjunction, in terms of mundane astrology, traditional mundane astrology, is telling us how humanity will evolve in the next 20 years. It's like the starting point. You look at the conjunction first, then at the Aries ingress, at the ingress of Saturn and the conjunction of Saturn and Mars, especially in Cancer, etc.
Okay, thank you. Great.
Thank you. We have a feedback from the YouTube. Someone say, "Oh, love Maria's research on traditional astrology." Thank you, Maria. I have to give this compliment to you from our audience.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so, well, we don't have much time.
Leanne.
Leanne, please.
Leanne has something.
Just very quickly. Thanks, Maria. That was absolutely fascinating. I'm so glad you are talking about that Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, because that was the great air mutation, and we moved into a new 200-year era of air, and it's so important we note that. And that conjunction, it was the first time it had started in Aquarius since 1226.
Yeah.
And that's when we entered the era of scholasticism, and we started questioning and learning. And our way of thinking and learning is going to, it's just going to accelerate so much. And Pluto on, zero Aquarius bouncing in out is triggering that degree.
Yeah.
And this is a massive pivotal sort of point in the development of humanity. And 2020 had that Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn, the first since 1518. And then later the year, we had that Saturn-Jupiter conjunction. 2020 was massive.
Yes.
So I'm so pleased you're talking about that as well. Thank you, Maria.
This year we had Venus, Pluto on the degree of the conjunction, Mars, Pluto on the degree of the conjunction, Mercury, Pluto. And what's interesting about that conjunction is that Saturn is so much stronger than Jupiter. So these 20 years are going to be about accountability, taking responsibility and paying the cost of our actions,
Yes, indeed. Oh, thank you. I mean, I have to say, I was prepared to say that by the end, but I really want to say it is my privilege to work with all our amazing colleagues. All of you, you are amazing. I really learned so much from you. Okay, now we will switch to the topic of a Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, especially Grace going to focus on this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction related to China's politics. So, Grace, have you turned on your microphone? Should I load the presentation for you?
Okay.
Yeah. So when you need to turn the page, just let me know. Okay. So I will.
Okay.
Okay. So here we are. So Grace, here we are. It's up to you.
Okay, but I have already something changed. Okay, but okay.
Oh, okay. How about I let you share? I let you share. Okay. Let me.
Okay, I think it's
It's,
better. Yeah.
yeah, because if you change the slides, let me. Yeah, please. Sorry. Go on then. You can share it. I think you are co-host, so you can share it now.
So, and I don't know how to share my. Oh, share my screen. Yes.
There is a share share screen, the green
Yeah,
arrow.
share screen and then whiteboard. I will see.
We couldn't see it.
Can you see?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Nope.
Okay, so I will see to share the keyboard.
Grace, let me share it then. Let me share it because
Okay.
yeah. Let me share it and you tell me when you need to add anything in. Okay?
Okay.
Let's go. Here we are.
And maybe you can see the play, yes.
Okay, first slice, right?
First slice, yes. I mean, you can show play.
Oh,
You
yeah,
can
play.
click
Okay,
play.
yeah. Cool. Yeah, okay. I can play,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Okay, Jupiter conjunct Uranus almost every 40 years. And so I look back of China's chart and it's very interesting. I will talk about since 1949. In 1949, the People's Republic of China founded, and so the first Uranus conjunct Jupiter in 1954 until 1955. There were 2 times, and in this period, China mental social movement, for example, land reform, the Great Leap, something else, and but we can see all from. I mean, although maybe we can see the chart.
Okay.
We can see the chart, and then I show a lot of chart, and the first chart is in, I will say it in 19. So in 1954, and the Jupiter conjunct Uranus in Cancer in 6th house, and there's a square the Neptune, and in the meantime, we can see Pluto on DC in this chart, in first chart. And the moon in 12th house. And the 6th house is more like the public healthy and labor, and the people a little bit low. I mean, and in 8th house, Mercury conjunct the Saturn. Sorry, I'm so nervous.
Don't relax. Don't be nervous.
Very nervous. I don't know what I should see.
Okay, let me help you with the Great Leap. I think maybe we will wonder about what we do really mention about Great Leap. That was, I think, during that time, the first China has like I think a little bit of friction between China and Russia, and China think they have to like enforce their own technology and the industrial revolution, kind of that kind of things. So they kind of showing their industrial power related to this Jupiter Uranus in sixth house. And that was kind of they are talking about their how about industrial, especially forging metal. They talking about their mechanic technique are so advanced and so powerful at that moment. They want to leap. The huge leap. I think everyone will agree the Jupiter Uranus related to leap. And this huge leap, they say, I think, Grace, may I ask you in Chinese Mandarin would be much easier because I think there is a slogan. Say that they want to surpass the United States and the UK, 超英赶美.
Yes,
is that during that time?
Exactly.
Yeah. So during that time, they have a slogan. Say they will be very soon surpass Western countries, surpass UK and the United States with technology. And you can really see Grace prepare this chart with the sixth house, and with that kind of Pluto only descended with that kind of competitive, ambitious. It's so interesting. But however, during that time, I think the people's life was a little bit difficult. The moon in 12th house. Yep. Okay. Grace, do you want to move to next one? Next one.
Okay.
So should I move to next slide?
Oh, we can see the
yeah
bi-wheel.
Okay, bi-wheel. Yes, this one,
Yes,
this bi-wheel,
we can see
right? On the right hand side, please.
So the bi-wheel we can see in 8th house, the Sun conjunct the Neptune and the Mercury in 8th house. And then we also can see Uranus and Jupiter
Yeah.
in 8th house, but it's almost nearly DC. And also conjunct China's Jupiter. So I'm thinking about, how to say it? Yes, in 1955, China they had land reform.
Mm-hmm.
And 老师或者我跟你说一下。
Okay, yeah. Yep. So this, I think the land reform was totally, I think it's totally really changed about the China's, I think these revolutionary things. And also, I mean, that was even before Cultural Revolution, right? That was really before the Cultural Revolution. Yeah.
Yes, excuse me. And we can see the Chiron with Mars also in 12th house. So it's in Capricorn. It's really something like the reform the policy or rebuild the land.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So should we move
I can now say something
yeah, please.
scientist. I mean, it's okay.
And the next slide.
Okay.
Is the
next.
Next one. Okay.
So next one in 1968. But you show us in 1983.
Is this one?
So,
Is this one?
yes,
68 one?
this one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
In 1960s in China, the focus the Cultural Revolution. All we can see social revolution, I think.
Yeah.
So from this chart,
that was very, very interesting. Grace, have you watched the Netflix series at this moment? They show a very famous sci-fi series called Three Body Problem. And they were opening with the Cultural Revolution thing. And I was amazed about this, Uranus Jupiter conjunction, Cultural Revolution are really coincidentally together with the Cultural Revolution with the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction. And also, I think at this moment, we have another one coming up. And then they kind of are recording the memory whether people like it or not. And that some people watch that movie, watch that series in China, they are not happy as they think the Cultural Revolution should not be this terrible and ugly, but some people get quite upset about it. So I think this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is quite interesting related to this Cultural Revolution. I'm just like, wow, that was really
in the
different.
third house,
Yes.
This year in third house is more like the student and also
yes, indeed.
Social media, and also like the news and yes.
Yeah, I think this really, I mean that is not real. That's quite likely what really happened during the Cultural Revolution was the student third house students grouped together and the kind of fight or criticize or really beaten the teacher, the landlord, the rich people, and that is kind of unbelievable. What I really want to move on to next one is the 80s. That's why I couldn't wait, because 80s like opening of China, right?
Yes, 80s in China is opening up, and the focus in, I mean, and one moment. Oh, I lost.
I think 80s. Let's have a
no, I
conversation
don't know
here.
what I did. I don't see the screen.
Oh, you don't see the screen. Okay. I think the 80s was like about China is since the Deng Xiaoping visited the South and he decided to open the market. And that was the first time all the foreign capital are able to entering into the China during this time. And that was also the kind of open the whole Chinese economy. That and I think it was since that time China's boost up. And you can see the moon was in the fourth house. That was also the moment all the estate agents start to boost up. And then the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is in the 11th house that really have a powerful impact, but also in 10th house if you compare with China. And that is something really, really worth we paying attention. That was really, China is like kind of open up and grow so fast since 80. But also I think it's that time I think it's also that time they decide to talk about Hong Kong return to China.
Yes, in 1984, talk about Hong Kong return, and we also can see from this chart in 1983, Uranus conjunct Mars in the second house, and so.
Yeah, that is very, very interesting.
Very interesting.
I have to,
and we can see the Uranus is the ruler of the fifth house. Fifth house like young people.
Yes.
It's more like a young people. And we also can see, we also can see Mercury square Saturn, and Mercury is the ruler of the ninth house. Ninth house like a university, so something else. I think it's more like a trigger.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Yes, I think
well,
it's
I
more
think
like it. Yeah.
Could you, because of time, Grace, could you summarize? Could you give us a summarize? What do you think about, these, these Jupiter-Uranus conjunction has impact to China?
I will share why I want to share Uranus with Jupiter conjunction, because it's more like I read the news or I talk with some Chinese friends or from WeChat. We have WeChat. It's more like Facebook. So I think it's more like in this moment they want something. They think we will become the first, or we will become the number one. We are very strong. So something like so. So I think I look at the chart. Oh, okay. So maybe because of Jupiter conjunct Uranus, and then look back so many years. It's really something happened with it's.
I agree with you. Thank you for pointing this out. I think in one way, Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, it does bring the technology advance or any kind of a thing. But in another way, it boosts up our confidence. Especially you can see in China's case, the first one in the 50s was a great leap. They call it great leap. And really, Jupiter-Uranus conjunction was a great leap. They call it great leap. And that was crazy because there's so many jokes during that time. We heard about now. We see it as a joke or something because they're just bragging. They're just bragging like a production of the agriculture or production of the forge of a metal or something. They just made it up, the numbers. They just made up the numbers and then in an incredible level. And then also, but I think also like for China, for Hong Kong return to China in beginning to discussion in the 80s, that also makes China think we are a great country. We can take Hong Kong back. That is so interesting. Thank you, Grace.
But I'm very sorry for my presentation. I'm so nervous and my English is so
fine.
I'm very sorry.
I know you need more practice. You need more practice. Don't worry. Don't worry.
You just need more practice. More practice, and that's it. I think there's always an element regarding to China, a Uranian element. It's the world doesn't know what to expect.
Indeed.
There is an unpredictability because so many things happen behind the scenes. At least for somebody who's looking from the outside.
Yes.
So
yes, indeed.
That is also a thing why I think it resonates very well with any conjunction that has Uranus on it. Because of the quality of the country itself.
Yeah.
But that's a perception from the outside.
Well, we always appreciate it.
and they also took Macau back, which is fine with me.
Okay, Anna, you want to add any comment?
I think that this Jupiter-Uranus thing, besides the innovation, is the extension of the power of China in worldwide. I mean that there are, for example, with Peru, we have the mega port of Chancay. We have some investment that China has been doing in overseas. That's what I meant. That's what I meant with this Jupiter-Uranus thing. There will be a lot of information that is the network of China will be much more stronger than before.
And that we can connect that with monopoly.
Thank you, Louisa.
All this talk about the great the Silk Route,
Yeah, the New
yes,
Silk
yes.
Road. The New
The
Silk
Silk
Road.
Silk
Road,
Road, New
but
Silk
in a
Road.
different sort of colonial power.
Space power,
Yes, indeed.
space, yeah, the space investment as well. Not only the navigation by sea, but all the conquer space. There are many things going on. We will know that.
Now with Monopoly, we're going to see.
No.
Yes, yes. Malia and Lian want to join any comment?
No,
Okay.
it's fascinating, and I just agree with everything you've just said. No, that was great. You did really well, Grace.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. You know, it's amazing. You put things up together, and then you just need more practice. Don't worry about that. We are all here to help each other.
Bigger charts. Bigger.
Yeah,
Thank
big
you,
chart.
thank
Next
you,
time,
thank
put
you.
chart bigger so
Okay,
we can see the
thank
clear.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rob,
Yeah.
for having
Okay.
us.
Thank you, Rob, for
I have to say
organizing.
thanks to everyone. You are all amazing astrologer. It's my privilege to work with everyone here, and with our colleague had a chance to be here. Liz and Sharon and Robin. They have our business and our planning to do, but I really hope to see them coming back, and Nando see them coming back in the next episode. Okay, so it's a little bit late, so I would like to say thanks to everyone to join us today on the Worldscope April. We have a fantastic discussion with cover all around the world. From I'm not talking about Ecuador and Peru and also Vietnam, and then Argentina from the Maria, and then China situation from Grace, and also we have the great Arizona. God bless Arizona and Trump in the United States. But thanks everyone to join us today, and let's see you next time. Thanks everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Stop recording. Yeah, and then